Good morning. Good to see you again after the break we've had in this series of partnering with parents. The series is titled Discipling Children. And in the previous episode 37, we looked at the instructions of the Apostle John in chapter 5 of his first letter. His letter describes the characteristics of an authentic disciple of Jesus Christ. And I suggested that this provides us with an excellent summary of what are the basics of Christian living and faith, and therefore gives us a guide as to what we can focus upon when discipling our children and our youth. It says in that chapter 5, verses 1 to 5, that everyone that believes that Jesus Christ is born of God, and everyone who loves the Father loves his child as well. And this is how we know that we love the children of God, by loving God and carrying out his commands. In fact, this is love for God, John writes, to keep his commands, and his commands are not burdensome. For everyone born of God overcomes the world. This is the victory that has overcome the world, even our faith. Who is it that overcomes the world? Only the one who believes that Jesus is the Son of God. Now, from this text, I believe that there are 4 basic qualities that Christian parents should model or show and tell their children when they're explaining what following Jesus Christ involves. These 4 basic ways of living are believing, loving, and obeying, and overcoming. Now, in the previous episode, I urged you to show and tell your children that a Christian is a person who sincerely believes that Jesus is the Christ, the only one sent by God to save the world and who has been appointed by God to lead his kingdom. I also stated that children witnessing the depth of your confidence in and your commitment to Jesus as your Messiah or Christ, that will present them with a far more powerful message than a kids' church lesson or a Sunday sermon. Now, I want to make it really clear, something very clear, that may not have been so clear from what I said in the previous episode. When discipling children, we must not treat them as if they will automatically follow Christ and be strong believers, simply because we are. Remember that Jesus Christ taught that no one could see or enter the kingdom of God unless they are born again and born from above. He made that really clear, that Christians are produced not by parents, but by God. He made this clear in his conversation with Nicodemus. That's reported in the 3rd chapter of John's Gospel. John himself, the writer of that Gospel, is very careful to emphasize the importance of understanding this, of understanding that Christians are produced by God. And he makes that clear in his opening chapter of the Gospel. In John chapter 1, verses 12 to 13, we read, "To all who believed and accepted Jesus, he gave the right to become children of God. They are reborn, not with a physical birth resulting from human passion or plan, but a birth that comes from God." So, discipling children to follow Christ must respect that they are not born Christians and that they will not naturally become Christians simply because you are their parents or you're discipling them or because you bring them to your church to be discipled. It just doesn't work that way. Each child must have their own genuine encounter with God through their own believing and accepting of Jesus as their Christ. You and I cannot force that. And we must not in any way convey that we intend to force or push them into becoming Christians. Discipling is the art of persuasion, of persuading others, including our children, to believe as we believe, but it cannot be produced by us, and we must not try to produce it. By the grace and help of God, we present Jesus to our children. We present what he has done for us and how we live with him and for him. We present and we persuade, but we do not push our faith into their heads or their hearts. To do so will make them respond to us and not to God, not to his Spirit. Instead, when discipling our children, we should adopt the approach of providing gentle instruction and a good example, showing and telling them what it looks like to be a Christian. Let them see Christ in us and for us, and then leave the matter to their own believing that comes from their own experience and encounter with the living God. That requires faith to believe that God can work in their lives. Thanks for listening. Hope to catch up with you again.